Hello, I'm Jacob Vasquez on top.
I'm Laura Russman, and we are going to talk about data visualization.
Yep, chapter 6, case 1. I remembered that. Very happy with that. All right. So, data visualization. You're kind of looking at it. Uh, uh, this is basically what people are looking for, which is, a quick scan of data in a way that you can figure out what it is. Um, I'm not sure if this really helps out that matter too well because it just looks like a bunch of pictures, but um, I don't know. I think I screwed this one up a little bit. Do we want to start over again? Sorry.
Right. So if we have poor information, we don't really know what's going on. This picture kind of falls into that because it looks great, it's cute, and all that, but I have no idea what it's trying to say. So there aren't anything like that. I don't know what they're talking about. Auto, I guess, but
yeah, well, there's no context either because, when you look at these tools is what does that, bar graphs and pie charts have to do with the cars on the right or the trucks on the left because all you have is just random sequences of numbers. And that's kind of the crux of the issue, just trying to make sure that you have, actual data that you understand versus really pretty colors that have no context.
Right.
So data visualization and database technologies, this is kind of where a simple kind of explanation of this is something like GIS technology, which was used recently with the GRPD, where they did a lot of their, they're called heat maps, where they can focus on trouble areas, by seeing a quick glance or a quick hit of like, okay, we have a lot of B&Es in this particular area. They can see it by those really intense like red dots. I'm not sure. I think you saw those before. You said you were actually in one of those red.
Oh yeah, I lived in a very red area for.
Yeah, and that's the thing is without that data visualization, there's problem areas, but to actually be able to visualize it, see it in front of you, allows you to pinpoint your resources in those areas quicker versus going through sheets and sheets and sheets and sheets of stuff that's been turned in by your officers. So that's
and I mean after living in that very red area and having really scary things happening around me all the time, once I wasn't a broke poor young person anymore, I could afford, somewhere a little bit nicer. That was one of the first things I did was pull up the crime maps to make sure I wasn't putting myself in that situation again. So,
and that's where those kind of things not only help, a business or an organization make good decisions. Like you said, it allowed somebody who's a private citizen to make a good decision that benefited them. So that's where data visualization really just helps everybody out. Ooh. New trends.
I like this one. So I think this is a really cool way to kind of more easily find the trends that rather than looking at all the numbers, if it goes down 0.2 points every 3 or 4 days, it's going to take a while to really realize the impact of that. And you have to look at the numbers and do the math and all that fun. Whereas you could have a visual showing the decrease in something, and or the increase in parts and say, hey, you know what, this over here, like Twitter, for instance, it started to become a trend. And so as it raised up and got more and more popular and more users, you could probably have seen that in the very early stages of it had you been like keeping track of it.
Yeah, it's not too dissimilar from like when like a town does a fundraiser for a school and they have that thermometer that shows you where they're at collecting their funds. That doesn't break down to individual monies and who donated and all that other stuff. But what it does is shows you how much money we need, and that's the kind of thing of like with the new trends is you're taking that kind of idea and really making it happen on a larger scale. You're able to see, how much money you are making in this one particular sector with just a quick little scan of your, data versus sitting there and hoping for the best. I think, like you mentioned, trying to figure out what kind of shoes you should stop ordering at your store versus, just keep on selling the stuff that always sold, even though it's not really trending that way anymore.
Right.
So, all in all, it's just one of those things where if you just, are able to keep an eye on things, you can actually be aggressive with changing how you handle your organization, in terms of not just like the data, but also how you spend your money and your resources. So
yeah, for sure.
The face.
Yay. I love the face. He is not so popular with it.
It just scares me a little bit. It's a little creepy. I still
it reminds me of Picasso. I like it.
That's true. I just feel like eat the guy over here on the right is what I was worried about. Like he seems hungry. Go ahead. Sorry.
So talking about the correlation between data mining and data visualization. So the way I kind of explain it is that data mining, extracts the information that's not actually spelled out in the data. So it's kind of reading between the lines. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you can do the same thing with visualization with that, that even though it's pulling from actual numbers to make the visual, it's an easier way to see it rather than, again, breaking down that math and having 6 pages of Excel spreadsheets all together trying to gather it. It's a little bit easier.
Yeah, 8 spreadsheets in front of you is a little bit harder to read than that, little map over there that pulls that 8 spreadsheets. It's basically like a visual pivot table. You're pulling all the information out so you can get exactly what you need versus going through, because I can't speak for anybody else, but I live with spreadsheets every day. And sometimes I wish that there was tools readily available all the time that I could just pull it out there. But it takes until organizations really embrace that visualization more, I think that's kind of where, especially administrative folk, you get buried in that. And, it really is key for organizations to be like, let's put together some visuals for folks. Let's get the real important stuff out of that and let them work from there versus just being buried in a spreadsheet. Oh,
yeah, it's easier to understand.
Yeah,
when it's out, in that more artistic way, I guess.
Yeah. Well, everybody learns really well with pictures. That's, you start off as a kid that way. So,
right.
Words kind of get to you later. So. Now that was an interesting question. Data visualization, right? Is that actually, a form of business intelligence? Any tool that makes you make a better decision is, important for an organization. So if you are a company that's trying to figure out how to steer your organization, having something they can look at real quick to make that decision, whether it's like a heat map for crimes or whether it is trends on, product you're selling or inventory, issues that you're having, be able to make a quick decision as opposed to have to sit there and just wait for a report to come your way. It's as time goes on here, I think you'll see where, we don't want to waste our time spending a week making a report. Let's look at the data right here, right now, and make a decision immediately, as opposed to sitting there and just waiting for, your data analyst to put something together for you. It's definitely, I think, not just a tool for now, but in the future going forward for companies. It's one of those things, once we embrace it, I think we'll all start doing a lot better, having the ability to make a quick pivot with your company or your organization.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If you're, part of business intelligence, like you're pulling information from all different sources, whether external or internal. So anything, like we had said before, taking it from those 300 spreadsheets by the time you pull the external and the internal and making it into easier ways to view it and actually pull the data from it visually much more quickly. It's definitely considered a business intelligence tool.
Yeah. Agreed. Security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really interesting to me.
Yeah, it is, because it's one of those things where I think that, when you look at trends, the big thing is they want to do like data democratization, where, and I never say that word right, but I'm going to count that close enough. But, letting everybody have access to that data. And that's where you could have a problem with security internally. But I think you and I had discussed previously where it was just, if you get buy-in from your people and let them all have ownership over that process and understanding what that data is, that's going to help you with your security.
Right.
They're less likely to make a bad decision when they're informed and they understand what the stakes are. But everybody, you can't stop a hacker. If they're going to hack you, they're going to hack you. But I mean, I think most of it really is about internal controls, about how you control the data that's in front of you. And you can. The one thing with data visualization is you can share, a quick snapshot, and they don't have to have access to that data. So
right.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Is depending on how you kind of put it out there, you be careful, and like you said, making sure your employees know, hey, don't click on that link in that email that you weren't expecting. It just depends on how you put that visualization out there, because if you're using Excel and you have 4 spreadsheets and you have graphs on one of them, well, that information is being pulled from another spreadsheet to create that graph. So the graph is very minimal. The sheets that it can pull from could have a lot of really sensitive information in it. So that's, you do have to worry about hackers, they can pull the source of that information from the visual.
Yeah, don't put all your customers' credit card numbers on a spreadsheet. I'm just going to throw that out there. Just a rule of thumb across the board. Let's not do that. And then just definitely don't share that link visually or otherwise. But
agree.
Yay! This is my thing. I love cleaning up a database. I like going in there, digging through it, because I'm a firm believer of garbage in, garbage out. And if you don't go in there and just cleanse your data, clean it up ever so often, because you'll get buried in just innocuous, unimportant data so quickly with these data, because they collect so much information. And you don't want to have old accounts that aren't active affecting the decision you're making with new accounts that are active. And taking the time to go through there and basically, clean and scrub it and make it shiny is what you need to do. Because, I mean, if you're doing data visualization, you got to be able to pull that information up quickly. You need to be able to have it make sense. And if you have it bogged down with just your 20 years worth of customers that, may or not even be alive anymore, not that you don't want to know who they are, but it doesn't help you with today's decisions. So, you got to clean it up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my company went through a merger recently, and
I'm sorry.
Some of it wasn't terrible.
That's great.
It was okay.
Yeah.
But it was the data part of it, bringing that over to our company, because we kind of decided to go with our system platform that we had been using.
Yeah.
And it was a mess, because this other company just had the most random things you can possibly imagine, and we're doing the most random things that we were just, what? Do you not follow these regulations? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So it was a mess, and we're still cleaning things up from it, and it's just over a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree that you need to keep minimal if possible.
Yeah. And minimalization will help you in the long run. So
for sure.
All right. Ooh.
I think that's about it.
I think we covered a lot in a short period of time, I hope. Is it a short period of time?
Yep, we're at 14 minutes.
Yes, we're great. Everybody else is great too, guys. Don't get me wrong. I think you're all doing great work. So, but
there's the Q&A page for the questions we answered with a very minimal for each one, if you guys need that.
Yeah. Feel free to take a look. Pause it, because we're about to end this puppy. So
true story.
Yeah. So that is Laura below me. I'm Jacob up here. And thank you for spending some time with us today.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you mocking my voice?
Oh, hold on. No, because I can't get it to turn off. Hold on.
We're still here.